weirdos, and a happy Wednesday to you. My name is Ben. I go by the moniker Ashenhold Art, and we are going to be forgetting all our woes for a few hours as we do a bit of painting. So, for those of you that have been following on with my adventure into the plague keyword, you will know that I have finished the stolen, although I've got a little bit of work to do on this little guy's base still. Like to do a little bit of a resin pour and just got a couple of bits and pieces to finish off, and rusty cans and such. So that was what I did on my last stream. And I've got his two little friends here. So we're almost finished the Hamlin core box. There we go. His two miserable friends. So my plan today is to try and finish off Nyx that I've got on the mat here. And then if we get him all done, I'm going to try and finish up the Obedient Wretch pictured here. So, without further ado, let's get to work on, I think we will do the pile of rats under his belly first. Get them all done. So, let's get some Gobi Brown. And I'm just using what you could really call a dry palette here. I'm just working from that. I think I'm going to stay away from brown grey because it's too similar to Nyx himself. So, what were my other colours that I used for the rats? Use a bit of walnut. And a bit of Thar Brown as well. So these are all scale 75 colours I'm using. I quite like how dense the paint is, because I can add water to change the density to suit whatever needs that I've got. And also you get a great range of colours within the range too. Always important. Oops. And then I'm going to take a little bit of Dryad Bark, since that is my tint colour. Okay, let's paint some rats. So first of all, we'll take some Gobi Brown, I think. Mix that with the Dryad Bark. Then we're just going to pick out the side. To be the same on the other side. like so. The rest can be a little bit different. Cool. And then what I'm going to do next is mix some walnut with dryad bark. And this is hopefully going to create a good amount of variation within the rats. We don't want them all looking the same. So it's, with paint, you're often walking quite a fine line between people find visually appealing. People want contrast, but they don't want too much contrast. Or a better way of saying it would be they want contrast, but they also want balance. So it's wrapping your head around that. Can get a little tricky. So this is just pure goby brown this time. And then what I'm going to do next is to mix some rotting flesh into that. Just pick out some highlights. Just like that. Right. Some rotting flesh into that walnut colour to give it a highlight colour. And what I'm doing, rather than putting solid lines on these dudes, is I'm just picking out bits here and there, using a texture similar to what I've done on Nick's himself, which is going to give the illusion of a sort of glossy, coarse fur. Okay, let's pick out some tails. So I was using pink flesh, that, another scale 75 point. And again, we don't want it to be too stark color transition, so I'm going to mix some pink flesh and dryad bark together. Just picking out tails, snouts. You see any feet as well, things like that. Okay. Then I will take some pink flesh, just a little bit of dryad bark through it this time. I'm just going to strengthen some highlights in those areas. Now mix some rotting flesh. rotting flesh with just a smidgen of pink flesh in. And I get a little bit of texture onto those tails. Like so. Just a little bit more shadow here and there, using a mix of dryad bark and abyssal blue for this. Okay. Good. Okay. Let's have a look at his chain then. So I'm going to start off with a mix of graphene grey and abyssal blue. That's going to give us this cold iron colour. Just cover all of the metal. We are going to rust this up shortly, but I would still, even though you're going to weather something and make it look quite creamy and beaten up, you still always want to give yourself a nice smooth base coat to work from. Okay. It's looking good, so I'm going to hit that with a hairdryer. Oh dear. Eaten by the warehouse. Is that kind of a good thing? Means the warehouse is busy, I guess? Or maybe they got lost in the warehouse. Or is weird after all. They could have been literally eaten by the warehouse. Hope not. Hope not. Okay, so making rust. I think as much as there can be a temptation to go straight for a rust color, if you actually look at examples of rust, rust can come in all sorts of colors, and it still has depth, and light still plays upon it the same way it does just about anything. So what I'm doing, this is a sort of bog standard method I have for doing rust, but you can honestly make it a lot more nuanced than this. So I start off with Rhinox hide as a base, which is a brown with a lot of red in it, which is going to make for a good base coat. And then what you want to do is get it to quite a watery consistency. So I'm going to just show you here on my hand. Something like that. Yeah. So there's still a fair bit of pigment in it, but it's very watery. And if you're not sure, I would say it's better to add more water. Now what we're going to do is we're going to just blob this in, and we're going to try and concentrate in areas where moisture would naturally accumulate. So it's going to run in at the bottom of these spikes. Really, there's not going to be too much corrosion up the body of the spikes themselves, because the moisture that causes the rust to appear will run down the length of the spike and settle around the bottom of them. So that's where most of our rust deposits are going to be formed. So we'll focus in there. Then on the inside of the rings on the chain. So I would do a pass with that, see how you think that looks, and then you can maybe build a little bit more up. And what I'm going to do with this layer is I'm going to have a little bit more paint in here. I'm going to be a bit more random with this. Try and make my rust look a bit more natural. Because as much as we know that water wants to take the path of least resistance, there is still a degree of randomness to where the water falls. Basically, if you have even amounts of rust across the surface, it's going to look a bit strange. So Try and spread things out a little bit. Okay. Next, Mornfang brown. So I'm going to go straight to Mornfang brown. If you wanted to have a little bit more nuance in what you're painting, what you could do is you could actually mix a little bit of the Rhinox hide with the Mornfang brown, but I'm not going to do that. Again, similar consistency. I'm going to go a bit random here again. What you maybe want to try and do now, if you can, is as much as you get these rust deposits in the corners, you get little rust spots occur elsewhere too. So I'm just stippling some of them in. And I'm going to take some Troll Slayer orange. I'm going to mix some of that with Mornfang brown. And I'm going to have less water in this because I don't want it to run as much. Stipple that in. And then lastly, I'm going to take some pure Troll Slayer orange. Okay. dry that off. Then using an older brush, you get special domed dry brushes. This one's a little bit beat up like this that you can use for dry brushing, but you don't have to do that. You can use a regular brush. So we're going to use a little bit of Scale 75 black metal from the Metal Alchemy range. It's very good paint. And I'm just going to work some of that into my brush. And then I'm going right here. Just catching the raised spikes and details that I want to like so. Oh, hey, McBluff. Good to see you, as always. Hope you're doing well. Okay. Then I'm going to use a little bit of heavy metal next. And do a little bit of a highlight on that. Mix that with catching those raised details, like so. There we go, nice rusty color. So we've not got too much left to do on next. A little bit of tidying up. So let's do some highlights on this spikes next, I think. So I've got some petroleum grey mixed in with some rotting flesh. I'm just picking out some highlights on claws, spikes, etc. We're just taking care of some touch-ups here and there. So where I am, it is currently very windy and a bit rainy, which is about standard for this time of year where I am. So I'm in the west of Scotland, so we have quite maritime weather here. Lots of quite sudden changes in temperature, and it can be quite cold and wet, but it generally doesn't get as cold as, for instance, parts of the continent where the climate's a bit more steady. So there's pros and its cons, I guess. I think this young man is looking just about ready for the tabletop, I'd say. So let's see. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that for the tabletop. He's going to look pretty smart. So all that's left to do for next is to sort his base, really. So I think I'm going to switch back to this young lady. So I think the skin's looking pretty good as is. Do some filling in on shirt. put some of the gold elements on, I think. So I'm going to use and these are some great metallics. There's the Pro Acryl range. I actually need to pick some more of these up, I think. Only thing about them though is they've got these sort of salad dressing tops on them. You can see I'm only just taking a little bit out, and how much is oozed out the top. Not a fan of that. So she's got these bangles, paint them in gold. Just get these big hoop earrings as well. I need to do a wee bit of a repaint of this guy to catch that, but that's okay. I'm just trying to get a good base coat of this gold down these areas. looking good. So I'm going to let that just air dry while I work on some other bits and pieces. I think I'll start with her bandana. I'm going to use some corn red mixed in with some fuchsia, and then I'll add that rotting flesh highlight colour to tie everything up. So you can see I've already put a lot of darker reds onto this, so it's a case now of getting some highlights down here. So now mixing a bit of the fuchsia with that corn red. I'm going to be a bit more selective with my highlights. That's already looking a lot better. What we should hopefully end up with is this red looking quite desaturated, faded. So we want her to look glamorous, but not too glamorous. want her to fit with the crew. There. Blend some of this in just a little. Okay, so I think I might need to do some more highlights on the face since doing the... Okay, it's looking a lot better. So I'm just picking out some more highlights on the face. Cheeks are usually quite pronounced. So it's already looking a lot better. I think you will agree. Thank you. I'm pleased with how she's looking so far. I think we can push the highlights in the hair a bit more. So let's sort her hair out. Oh, hey, Doug. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you're well. Yeah, we're doing not bad here. Currently working on trying to finish all the models from the Hamlin core box. So I've got the base to do still on Nix, and then it's this lady in Hamlin. So we're making some good progress. How about you? You behaving yourself? Good man. Trying to push the highlights on the hair a bit more on this little lady. So there's quite a few of the Malifaux Burns Masters headed to the shops soon. Coming, of course, with all sorts of weird and wacky additions to their crews as well. Anyone excited for anything in particular? I think I'll probably pick up the Hamlin Dashel box at the least. I'm probably also going to grab the Cornelius Bass box 2 for all the Stetsons. Maximum Wild West in my Malifaux games. Cowboys and Monsters, what's not to like? Yeah, you've been running Neverborn quite a lot lately, haven't you? Is it that Marcus crew? Yeah. I'm kind of undecided about how I'm painting her skirt. I haven't put a lot of thought into it. I'm just going to have a quick look at the Obedient Wretch artwork. It doesn't seem to be. I think most of the art I'm seeing is of her top half. So I think probably going to use a little bit of artistic license. Yeah, I've seen that Sandeep seems to be quite popular. I think Eleanor's played quite a lot of Sandeep as well. It's always good to be able to change gears, isn't it? It's one of the good things about having crews that are reasonably small in size is that it's not a huge investment if you want to go and Eleanor plays everything. There you go. So let's have a think about this. So is this sort of apron piece over the top. It's got all these little tassels here. We do the tassels in gold, I think. And then you've got the main body of the skirt, and then you've got this fringe bit. So I think we'll do the body of the skirt like a dark red. Similar to the bandana, just a little bit darker. And then I'm thinking a secondary colour, sort of murky green. Keep it kind of plaguey. So hopefully what this will help to do is frame the top half of the model, because you'll have red here and red here. will hopefully pull focus to here. Raspi 2. Oops. Raspatina, right? You know, she seems really popular. I actually had one of my clients recently. He's fairly local to me. He came up to pick up some stuff I'd been working on for him, and he brought me a bunch of his metal Malifaux models to show me, which was really cool. They were painted by they're no longer in business, but it was a studio based in the UK that my friend used to run called Golem Painting, run by Tommy Soule. He's a great guy. I've mentioned him a couple of times on stream before. He doesn't do commission work anymore. It's teaching is his jam. Running workshops, but they were all of this stuff he brought me to see. They were painted by him, and the ice golem, the old metal ice golem that he'd painted, looked absolutely stunning. It was funny because I saw Tommy not long after that, and I said to him, "Oh, I was looking at some of your handiwork recently, and obviously, you know, he used to run a painting studio. He's painted countless things for loads of people over the years, so he doesn't remember everything that he's painted. But when I mentioned the ice golem from the crew to you know, like the light bulb went on, and he was instantly saying, he said, "Oh, I remember painting that." And the reason that he remembered painting the ice golem was, he said it was around the time that the Citadel paint range changed, and they swapped it over from it was when they, I mean they've added stuff to the range over the years, but it was the big change that they did probably about 10 years ago now. And it was when they swapped from it was the white caps with the blue tabs on them to the stuff that you've got now. And he said that he he had been trying to use the new paints, and he said that he was hating them and he was having a terrible time with them, and he said that for painting the ice golem, he swapped back to the old paints just for doing that, and he said that he absolutely bossed it. So he remembered that one in particular, which I thought was quite funny. It was quite interesting as well. Oh yeah, I remember, as with any change that I mean, you'll be able to correct me, Doug. Obviously, you dealt with a lot of that directly, but I was just getting into the hobby at the time, so to me, it wasn't really a problem because I was just learning to paint with the new stuff that was coming out. Like, yeah, that's fine. I think I maybe had like one or two of the older ones, but I remember a lot of like the old guard guys were like, like really gnashing their teeth over some of the changes. I remember, I remember one guy like threw a wobbler when he saw that they were bringing out a paint called the Fang, because he'd formulated like he'd made his own mix for his space wolves or something like that. It was pretty funny. Yeah, fully grown man acting like a toddler. Okay, so it's probably no skin off your nose as well, because you were just getting to grips with things. I'm just going to use the hairdryer on this. I actually know quite a lot of people that still use. Yeah, I think like any change that I think most of the people that were complaining about it's just they'd become used to doing a certain way of things, and there's a certain argument that maybe they were having to make more adjustment than a lot of people coming in. But I think like you say, like overhauling the paint range so that because that's what any paint range is, right? When you think about it, because there is a certain argument that like really you do only need 5 paints, right? Red, blue, yellow, black and white. And you should in theory be able to make anything that you need from them. But it's a lot of work mixing all that stuff. And even if you do have like a fairly comprehensive paint range, you're still going to have to do a bit of mixing. I mean, like I'm doing a lot of it here. You can see. And then the other side of that palette. So really all that you have, and you can maybe make certain arguments about well, yeah, exactly. This is what I was leading into, is that if you've got your go-to mix of a certain color, and you know that you only need to take a step or two one way or the other in order to get your mix, then it's a lot more helpful for you. And that isn't just a theory thing. That is true. You can get any color you want from those 5, but It would be a lot of work if you had to do that every time. Some people do it. Some absolute nutters do it, but like Doug is saying, it's good to have consistent steps through the rainbow. Well, yeah, because the other thing that I was going to say is that it's not just about color, is it? It's about the medium that a given paint pigment might be suspended in, density, things like that. There's more to it than that. It's not just about color. Yep. Which you might want, right? Like sometimes you might want to desaturate a color, but it's whether or not you want that result. Because the other thing is that you might want to desaturate it but not increase the vibrance, because the problem is that white will increase the vibrance and decrease the saturation, because what a lot of artists will do to get a desaturated version of a color is they'll use like an umber pigment. I think it's umber. But yeah, so this is the thing, right? Is if you actually start looking into how paints are made, you'll have paints like a paint range that's become quite popular of late is Chimera colors, and it's because one of the big selling points of them. I've not had a chance to pick them up yet, but they are on my list of things to pick up, is that the Chimera colors are pure pigments, which means that most of the paints that we have on our desk will have been mixed together using different pigments to create whatever color it is the designers wanted. Yeah, exactly. Chemistry is definitely an element of it. But the attraction with Chimera colors is that it's one unadulterated pigment that's been used to make it. And those paints are not just red, blue, yellow, black, and white. So pure pigments of things like magenta and green, for example, exist, even though they are not primary colors according to color theory. But you can get those colors in their unadulterated form. So even if you're using crude pigments, you shouldn't need to necessarily mix up some colours using primary colours to get them, although you can get them using primary colours. Well, I don't know so much about the print stuff. I'm just starting to learn about pixels per inch and all of that nonsense from photography. Okay, there you go. Oh, it's because you see them on the symbol in the back of a lot of ink cartridges and things, right? Red, green, blue is that's the primary colors in physics as well in the light spectrum. So it's you ask an artist what the primary colors are, they'll say red, blue, yellow. You ask a physicist, they'll say red, blue, green, which is funny. So. Well, if you ask a traditional artist, then because that's most of them are taught. Well, I mean, if you're talking best way to think, I would probably say that the best and most rudimentary answer would be that the primary colors really are red, blue, and yellow, because every other color comes from combinations of those. Yeah, that's probably the answer you could get most of those nerds to agree upon. Evidently. So I think this is looking good alongside the old bandana. I like to try on cloth like this to create quite soft color transitions because it helps with the softness of the texture, helps to convey that soft and fluid texture that you have on cloth like this, sort of silky. Leave some nice strong shadows in here as well. I'm going to try and hopefully desaturate this in places as well. It's going to make it look like a lot of the colours washed out of it. Oh, geez, he's still going. Alive. Someone needs to find Doug's off button. Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think it's a good idea to stick hard and fast to the color wheel. Personally, um, I mean, for one, nature doesn't really adhere to it. I think a lot of people get hung up on the color wheel when it comes to picking, color schemes and things like that. It's really just about what looks cool, I think. Yeah, it doesn't exist as a wheel, the light spectrum. That is, it's just been the way that someone has arranged it. They've noticed some patterns in the way that, you've got your primary, secondary, and tertiary colors, and there's definitely some patterns there, right? Because you've got things like each primary color being complemented by a secondary color that's composed of two, the other two of those primary colors. So look, I'm tying myself in knots here, but so the complement to red is green, right? And and that's your other two primary colors, right? So you get red, and then you've got blue and yellow to make green, and every single primary color on the color wheel is complemented by a secondary color that corresponds that way. No, I think it's useful in some respects, the color wheel. I think with having a visual representation of color temperature, because color temperature is relative, so having them all arranged according to temperature is useful, because it's no matter. Well, I've got the wheel here. So, like, if you take red, for instance, you go left to get the cooler color, right to get a warmer color, and that more or less applies no matter where you are, with the possible exception of blue. Well, I mean, yeah. It's not perfect, but nothing man-made is perfect. And the color wheel is man-made. It's all about the rule of cool. It's just what looks cool. Simple as that. People try to get a little fancy and intellectual with it, and that stuff applies to a certain extent, but what you should really be asking yourself with your painting is, does it look cool? And it doesn't matter if it breaks any rules if it looks cool. Okay, I think that's looking good. Let's do some green. Green. Oh man, I think the game's a bogey for that. I vote for, in response to Doug about his Bayou crew, you get 1 vote for Zip here from me, just because pirates. Well, I think that's a good idea. It's always good to be able to help new people wrap their head around it. To that end, would it perhaps be best to try and ascertain of those 3 gremlin crews which is the easiest to pilot then? So it means that newbies can just plug and play. Yeah, I think so. I think particularly if that's your if that's what you've got in mind, maybe worth picking them on that basis. Yeah, I've heard that about Zoraida. I've seen quite a few people have said to me that generally speaking, that guild factions are quite straightforward to play. Would you say that there's any exceptions to that observation, or is that generally true? Are they generally quite a straightforward play style? So yeah, okay. So Nellie's probably the most complex one. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Good to know. I actually have Title Nelly up there to work on at some point. I don't know if I'll collect that crew or not, though she might just be a display piece, I think. Yeah, I think that's a good rule of thumb. Anything that breaks the core rules or has its own weird action economy. Yeah, I'd say that anything like that is probably a good rule of thumb. Okay, I think she's starting to take shape, which is good. I think I might do some like dirt and weather and make this dress look a bit grimier. Looks a bit too pristine at the moment, doesn't it? Okay. A bit of Ardennes green in there. I think what's quite good as well about this shade of red that I've used, I mean, some people might call it pink, but I think what's particularly good about it is that it is actually kind of visceral. So it feels quite fitting with the gory nature of Hamlin's crew. It's a colour I use a lot, actually. It's a scale 75 fuchsia, and I've mixed it with corn red, and then highlight. I've mixed it in with a bit of rotting flesh. They're really good. They're very versatile. You know, back to what we were saying earlier about the chemistry of paint is they're very dense. I think if you're used to using, you know, paints that are more like the model color or citadel consistency, they'll maybe take you a bit of getting used to. But here I'll hopefully show you on camera. It can be, and hopefully you can see, like, it is quite dense, and that's that just been put out of a dropper bottle. It doesn't really move. You just splish it down. Very, very thick. It probably quite similar in consistency, I would say, to, like, you know, acrylics that you get out of a tube, like artists' acrylics. I would say at first, and then when you're used to using them, you get a pretty good idea of what consistency you want for what you're doing. And that's why I quite like using paints of this sort of density, because if I want a thin if I want quite a thin layer, I can mix that. I'll show you. Okay, here. So, depending on how I load my brush. Like I've done here, I can pick out quite a thick layer if I want. It's going to give me good coverage. Well, maybe not there. But I can go really, really thin if I want. Do some nice blends. Oh yeah, I recommend them. Some people don't get on with them, but it's like anything new. It takes a little bit of perseverance. It's just that I don't think it's necessarily I don't think they're necessarily more difficult to use. I think they're just different, I think that's the best way of explaining it. Another range that's supposed to be quite similar to Scale 75 is the AK Interactive 3rd Gen. I haven't tried them yet, but a lot of people are raving about those paints. I don't use Scale 75 exclusively. I mean, a lot of my painting is done with the Scale 75 paints, but there's paints that I use for other things. I still use a lot of the Citadel paints, a lot of the model color paints as well. Quite like them. It's good that your shop's carrying them though. All right, Doug, thanks for popping by. Good to see you again. Have a good day. I think green was a good shout. Kind of plaguey. Let's get the air dryer on this. We'll do some of the tassels across, I think. We just need to get a little base for Nick's, and then he's done. We've not got much left to do with this lady. And then it's on to Hamlin. So I think next time we'll do some work on Hamlin. And then that'll round out the box. then hopefully we're ready for some games. I'll be able to report back to you guys about how I got on. Okay. Looking good so far. Do the tails and other bits and pieces, will we, with the time we've got left? Okay. So, got this pink flesh dried bark mix back again. Have we? Got lots of new followers. That's cool. Okay, well, getting ready to just about wrap it up here, I think. Got some good work done on the obedient wretch. I should hopefully be able to finish her up soon. And we just need to sort out Nixie Boy with a bass. Thank you very much, Play Weird, for chucking my links in there. So we're going to have a pretty eclectic looking crew by the end of this, which is going to be neat. And then I think hopefully next week we can start on the big man, Hamlin himself. No need to apologise, McBluff. Your presence is enough. Just glad to have you hanging out. I know that sometimes you guys are busy, but hopefully today we've been able to give you a little bit of catharsis in a world that's experiencing a little bit of upheaval at the moment, to say the least. But yeah, I think that about does it from me for this week. Haunted and Eleanor will be back tomorrow in their usual allotted times, so make sure you check them out. I think pretty much everyone is working on like an extended project at the moment, so make sure to check out what they're doing. I think everyone's trying to get things ready for the tabletop, so there should be something of help to everyone in that respect. But I think that is going to be it from me this week. I will be back again next week at the usual time, where we will do some work on Hamlin. Thanks again for joining me, guys, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.